Welcome back to my channel, DebtFree CF, and I'm going to be completing my budget check-in for October. This is actually going to be kind of the wrap-up of how I did over the month as well, because I got paid on basically this weekend. I got a paycheck, and since there's only 2 or 3 days left, I'm not gonna prorate or calculate how many days from that paycheck should be allotted to October compared to how many days of that paycheck should be allotted to November. Although I do that when there's more than about 3 or 4 days into one or the other months when the paycheck is split. But in this particular month, I don't anticipate spending all that much more on any particular thing. And if I do, like for example, if I go grocery shopping, most of that is going to be groceries that end up getting eaten in November. So I'm just going to allot all of the check to November and use what I have in my account right now for whatever other expenses arise. And I've already anticipated a few, so it should be all set in terms of how I've planned out. So just kind of as a review, this is a little bit lower than I would normally make in a month because I didn't allot those extra couple days. Plus, if I do overtime or I essentially get like some kind of commission at work, then my check is flexing a little bit anyway. So I've got a couple notes here at the bottom of things that need to be filled in here on the actual column. So in my grocery budget, I've got a couple different expenses. So one of them I believe was kind of a treat for my partner and I, and then I've got three charges, but just this one was only like a few items, but 3 charges for the grocery store. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just copy and paste this so that I can just do the math in the formula that I already have set up. So the couple other charges that had already allotted to $56-ish, I'm going to add what I just copied and pasted here, and then when I hit enter, my tally comes to just under $115, and I've allotted $150, so I still have about 35-ish left over. I could add in that I know I'm gonna buy some pumpkins to carve because it's been really hot where I live, and so the neighbors carved their pumpkins and they already melted, and that happened to me last year, so I waited this year because I knew it was going to be hot from the weather forecast. So I've got a little bit more space in here, which actually means that if I end up going to the grocery store, I've already planned out for the other $35 to cover some of those groceries. We just did a little bit less grocery shopping this month than some other months, I think because we were kind of pantry eating, and occasionally when I see my mom, she wants to gift us consumables because I've told her I don't want any other kinds of gifts. I really just don't want more stuff, but sometimes she goes a little bit overboard because you can always have food. And then I don't know if it makes much of a difference. I'd kind of have to go back and check against some previous months, but this is now like month 3 or 3.5 of being vegetarian. So I'm not sure how much it plays into that we're not buying meat or eggs. I haven't bought dairy in years. It doesn't sit well, so that wasn't much of a change. And then cheese is the only thing that we haven't given up in terms of vegetarian versus vegan, but that's a whole nother story. I've also got all of these different amounts down here for going into kind of the fun miscellaneous gifts, other not food consumables, but maybe some personal items or even kind of household items that wouldn't necessarily be split. So for example, I needed some deodorant this month, so that's in one of these charges. I believe that it was a gift for a friend, and then my mom's birthday was this month, and I sent her flowers, had them delivered. This was some kind of dollar store charge, needed some batteries, and wanted to get a second and third comb, one to go in the car and one just because I've actually broken one at home. And I'll have a little check-in about my bummers and brags of the month where this was not a good purchase, but anyway. Then I had, I think, a Target run, like I said, deodorant, soap, some socks, a shirt, whatever. And then this $40 here is the other amount that I'm going to allot for the remaining couple days in the month. I know that I have pumpkins, I know that I have a haircut, and I'm going to start looking for some gifts for kind of like my adopted nieces and nephews. So that's a little bit of spending money in there. But I actually have to make a change to this particular already counted amount where I'm going to take the $50 out. And the reason I'm taking that out is I had planned that for when I went to a theme park nearby, that I might purchase something, and I didn't end up purchasing anything. And that's just because I didn't find anything that I particularly liked, and that's perfectly fine. So it's actually just gonna kind of pile over into the $40 for the rest of the month anyway. So I'm gonna copy this and add it in here. And now I have, this was kind of a high spend month. It's not usually this high. I don't usually send my mom flowers. I don't usually go to a theme park. And I don't even, oh, this must have been like some tickets or something. I don't know. I can't remember. There's some notes in the margin, but they're blanked out so that it's not too personal. But anyway, there's just a few things that I don't normally do. And then haircut and buying pumpkins and gifts is not every single month. So in total, it looks like I'm pretty good on track for, this is kind of my wish of having this amount to send to retirement. I haven't actually sent it yet, but since I still have over $300 to allot, oh, let me go ahead and delete this because I filled that in. Since I already have $300 left to allot to something, probably I'm going to increase this to the $800 that I put over here that I wanted to do, but this was just kind of a balancing calculation from somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to 800 and get that sent. I don't think this is calculating that actually, because it didn't even change. That $300 didn't change. So I may not actually even be able to do that much. Let's go ahead and try to get this corrected. So here this should be through C19 because the retirement row is 19. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and hit enter. And so now we've got that I'm shy. So that threw off my whole calculation. I'm not even going to be able to do 744. Yeah, it's going to be too much. So looks like maybe 300 is a little bit closer. I'll recalculate that. I'll probably send the 800 anyway and then budget it into next month because it would just come out of my savings and then get addressed. Plus, I have the couple days that I didn't prorate from my check, so I'll probably adjust that, but I'll do that off camera. And then I had one last note here that is $23 in the gas category. I didn't put this in here because it's not actually a deduction from my budget, but from time to time, if I'm driving to visit my mom, she will gift me a gas card that doesn't always cover the entirety of the gas, and sometimes it's more than the entirety of the gas, but she does that just kind of as a thank you and a helping type of thing, not because I couldn't afford to pay my gas, but she wants to encourage me to visit her just as much as I do, which is almost once a month. So doing that, you know, providing me gas to help with some of the expense of it is a nice gesture, and it definitely helps with the budget. I don't always know when it's coming or how much, so I don't really calculate that. When I have to pay for gas, I pay for gas, and when I have a gas card from her, then my gas category is cheaper. So that's kind of a nice little thing. I think that's pretty much everything for the check-in. I know that there's some things off to the right that I haven't really covered. I've already set aside the amount for my insurance, so my tally over here is pretty accurate. So I've got 2 more months and then that'll be at 190, which in December I will pay my mom for the 6 months, and then I'll repeat that again in July, building up this kind of mini fund until that point in time. And then over here I've got, this is the pet fund in terms of major expenses that are coming up, and then we order supplies online about once every 2 to 3 months. I think I have it on a 12-week cycle, but sometimes I push it forward a week if I need it, or push it back a couple weeks if we're good on supplies. So we know that vaccinations are coming up next month, and this is almost the entirety of what we're going to need for a dog and 2 cats. And then we'll be putting in what we need for November in November to make this reach the maximum total and start planning for the next month. November is also the month that a shipment of supplies is being ordered and delivered, so it'll be a big spend month, but then it'll be about 3 months before anything else is spent, barring an emergency. But that's what the emergency fund is for. So over here, this grocery amount needs to be reduced into November because we've spent out of it. So I'm still kind of working out. The sinking funds is maybe a 3-month new category, so I'm still kind of figuring out exactly how to have some of the things tie back and forth, but it looks like this should definitely have subtracted this amount over the course of the month. And then some of the other ones are just kind of numeric amounts. The retirement, the Roth or whatever, this amount over, it should port over here, so got a few things to fill in. But since I'm not 100% done with the month and I haven't calculated this exactly, I'm not going to worry about that the right side isn't 100% complete. But I'm going to consider this a done report for October so that I can also start planning for November, which has quite a few different things going on in the month than normal. So stay tuned if you want to have a report on November. That's probably going to be coming out pretty soon. And then I have a couple other videos. One was a setup of the budget that you're looking at on the left-hand side only, just kind of the monthly amounts, not all of the check-ins, the baby steps, all of that kind of thing. I'll do a whole nother video on that. So I have one video for just how to set this up, and then I also have another video for how to format it in case you're not all that familiar with how to use Google Docs. And then I'm also going to make a version for Excel. So that's being released this week as well. So thank you for watching. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up, and if you want to see more or know when things are released, you can subscribe. And thanks for watching.